In the heart of the city stood a mansion that radiated wealth, with walls that held stories of success, power, and secrets. But there was one room in this mansion that no one was ever supposed to enter, a forbidden room. A room locked away, for years hidden from the world, and most importantly, hidden from the CEO who owned it all. But tonight, something would change. The Black Maid, Amaka, had been working in this mansion for only a few weeks, quietly, unnoticed, blending in with the shadows. She knew the rules, and one of the most important was, never go near the forbidden room. But tonight, something felt different. She found herself standing before the locked door, the weight of her curiosity pressing on her. What could possibly be behind it? Would it be another one of the CEO's secrets? Another room filled with priceless artifacts? Or something else entirely? Amaka reached for the key she had never touched before. She knew this was a line she should never cross. But something pulled her in. What she didn't know was that opening that door would change everything. For inside was a man who looked exactly like the CEO. But was it really him? No, it was his twin brother. As the door creaked open, her heart pounded in her chest. She had found what was meant to be kept hidden for good. But why? And what would the CEO do when he found out that his darkest secret had been uncovered by the very person who cleaned his house? Asterisk. The mansion was silent, except for the soft ticking of a clock somewhere deep in the house. The Black Maid, Amaka, stood before the forbidden's door, the key heavy in her hand. Every instinct told her to walk away, to forget about the room she'd been told never to enter. But tonight, her curiosity had a stronger hold than fear. With a shaky breath, she twisted the key, and the door creaked open. She stepped inside, the darkness swallowing her whole. The room smelled of dust and neglect, but as her eyes adjusted to the dim light, she saw him, a man sitting in the far corner, staring at her. He looked just like the CEO, but there was something in his eyes, something off. His gaze was colder, distant. He was wearing the same suit as Kingsley, but his expression was something else entirely. Amaka's heart raced. She stepped closer, and the man finally spoke, his voice deep and almost emotionless. "I didn't think anyone would find me." His words hung in the air like a challenge. She froze, the shock coursing through her veins. Could this really be the CEO's twin? She couldn't believe it, but there was no denying it. This wasn't just anyone. This was someone who had been hidden for years. Amaka opened her mouth, but no words came out. She couldn't understand how this was possible. She had worked for Kingsley for weeks, and not once had she seen any sign of his twin brother. Was this some twisted joke? "Who are you?" She managed to whisper, her voice trembling with disbelief. The man smiled faintly, the coldness in his eyes never wavering. "I'm the one your boss keeps hidden." His words struck her like a blow to the chest. She took a step back, her breath catching in her throat. "You can't be. You're his brother?" The man stood up slowly, his movements deliberate, and took a step toward her. "You're not supposed to know I exist. But tonight, I think the truth is coming out." He paused, studying Amaka's shocked expression. "Kingsley had me locked away, hidden from the world, for reasons you'll soon understand." Amaka's legs felt weak as the weight of his words hit her. Hidden away? For what? Why had Kingsley kept his brother a secret? And what was she about to uncover in this forbidden room? Suddenly, she heard the distant sound of footsteps. Kingsley's voice echoed down the hallway. "Amaka, what are you doing up here?" Her heart skipped a beat. She had no time to react. The twins' eyes flashed with something dangerous. "I guess our secret is about to come out." Just as Amaka turned to flee, the twin grabbed her arm. "You don't understand. You need to know the truth." Amaka didn't know what to do. She couldn't just leave him there. She had to know more. But before she could even ask, the door slammed open, and there stood Kingsley, the CEO, his face filled with confusion and fury. He rushed inside, his eyes immediately locking onto his twin brother, who was still seated in the corner, watching him silently. Kingsley's voice trembled with anger. "What the hell are you doing here? You weren't supposed to be seen." His words cut through the room, but his brother remained calm, unaffected. "You've been hiding me for years, Kingsley. But I'm not your secret anymore. It's time the world knew the truth." Amaka stood frozen, her heart racing in her chest. She had never seen Kingsley like this, vulnerable, torn between fury and something else, guilt. His eyes flashed to her, and for a moment she saw something that made her stomach drop. Fear. "You were never supposed to know," Kingsley whispered, almost to himself. Amaka's mind was spinning. She thought she knew Kingsley, the man who had hired her, the man who owned everything in sight. But what was this? Why was he so terrified? Of his twin brother? Kingsley took a step forward, his eyes burning with something dark. "You should have never been born," he spat, his words like a slap to the room. But his twin brother only smirked, unbothered, standing up slowly. "You were never supposed to be the one in charge, Kingsley," the twin said, his voice cold and cutting. "I was just waiting for you to realize that." Kingsley's fists clenched. "You don't get it. I had no choice." His words cracked with emotion, a rare sight from the man who usually held all the power. His twin brother took a step closer, his face calm, almost indifferent. "You always think you had a choice, don't you? But deep down, you knew you never did. You took everything, my life, my legacy, and you've hidden it all behind your empire." Amaka couldn't breathe. The tension was thick, suffocating. She had stepped into something much deeper than a simple family feud. Kingsley turned to her, his face filled with anger and regret. "Leave, now," he ordered, his voice low, but there was something broken in it. Amaka felt the weight of his gaze, the guilt he was trying to bury. She could see the cracks in his facade, the man who had everything, yet had lost so much along the way. But the twin brother spoke again, his voice softer now. "You think sending her away will fix this, Kingsley? You think locking me up was your only choice? No, the truth is, you are running from me all along." Amaka looked between them, the tension so thick she could cut it with a knife. She wasn't sure what was more terrifying, the CEO's anger or the chilling calm of his brother. Her heart ached for both men. Both were broken, but in different ways. Kingsley's eyes softened, and for the first time, she saw the cracks in his armor. "I didn't want to hurt you," he whispered, more to himself than to anyone else. "But you you destroyed everything I worked for." The twin's face remained unreadable, but there was a flicker of something. Was it regret? Maybe. "No, Kingsley. You destroyed everything by trying to erase me. Now you're going to have to face the consequences." The door slammed shut behind them. The mansion felt colder, quieter, as if the walls themselves were closing in. Kingsley stood frozen, staring at his brother, unable to move. "What now?" he asked, his voice raw. His twin brother smiled, a cold, unsettling smile. Now the truth comes out," he said simply, before turning his back on Kingsley, walking out of the room like he had already won. Kingsley ran a hand through his hair, his breathing shallow. "You don't understand," he muttered. "You're the reason I had to do this. You were the one who messed everything up." His brother's face twisted in disbelief. "You always blamed me for everything, Kingsley. But the truth is, you've been hiding from our past." He paused, letting the silence fill the room. "Our father wanted us both to run the company, But you made sure I was erased from the picture. Amaka stood in the corner, frozen by the truth she was hearing. She had always seen Kingsley as this powerful, untouchable man. But now, she saw him for what he truly was, someone who had built his empire on lies, on keeping his past buried. Kingsley clenched his fists, his anger rising once again. You think I wanted this? You think I wanted to erase you? You ruined everything we had. He turned to face the wall, his voice shaking. But his brother remained silent, unmoved, watching him as if he had already given up on trying to get through. Amaka could see the strain on Kingsley's face. It wasn't just guilt, it was years of denial, years of running away from what he had done to his family. The man who stood before her, the CEO, was nothing like the cold, calculated businessman she had known. He was broken. You don't get it, do you? The twin brother spoke again, his voice quieter but more forceful. I had no choice. I was forced into hiding. You made sure I stayed away, erased from the family legacy. And now, you're trying to act like the victim? His eyes were raw with emotion. We both lost everything because of you. Kingsley turned, finally facing his twin brother with tear-filled eyes. I never meant for this to happen. I was trying to protect us both. I just wanted to be the one to carry on our father's work. I didn't think it would turn into this. The CEO's twin brother stood up, taking a step toward Kingsley. You think you're the only one who suffered? You think you're the only one who's had to hide? His voice broke for the first time. We both lost everything because of your choices. He took another step forward, his hands trembling slightly, like he was ready to reach out, but stopped himself. Amaka felt her heart break as she watched the brothers, seeing the layers of pain and regret that had built up over the years. She had never imagined their rivalry, their hidden conflict, ran so deep. This wasn't just about the company or power. It was about years of lost time and shattered trust. Kingsley's eyes flickered with something new, a deep, crushing sorrow. You have no idea how hard it was for me, he whispered. I lost my brother, my family. I couldn't save you. I couldn't let anyone know the truth. You think it was easy for me? No one even knew I existed. The twin brother snapped back, his voice shaking with emotion. You think it was easy for me to hide in the shadows all these years, while you lived the life I was supposed to have? I watched you thrive while I rotted in that damn room. Amaka couldn't hold back anymore. She stepped forward, her voice trembling. Kingsley, what are you going to do now? Can you fix this? Kingsley turned to her, his expression filled with sorrow. I don't know if I can fix it, Amaka. His voice cracked. I thought that if I built something bigger, something powerful, it would make everything right. But all I've done is destroy the people who mattered the most. Asterisk script. Kingsley stared at his brother, his heart pounding. The weight of everything they had both lost, because of the choices he made, felt unbearable. His chest tightened, and he struggled to breathe as the truth of the years they'd spent apart, the years of pain, anger, and secrets, hit him like a freight train. He wanted to yell, to fight back, to blame someone else. But instead, he just stood there, silent. For the first time in years, he didn't know what to say. What could he say? How could he possibly make up for everything he'd hidden? How could he fix something that had been broken for so long? As the silence stretched on, Amaka stepped forward. Her eyes locked onto Kingsley's with a calm that was almost too much to bear. Her voice was soft but firm, carrying a weight of understanding. He wasn't ready to face. It's not too late, Kingsley. You don't have to keep hiding from your past. Maybe it's time you fix things. Kingsley looked at her, his eyes filled with a mixture of gratitude and shame. He opened his mouth, but the words seemed to get caught in his throat. Finally, he whispered, how could I fix this? I've ruined everything. His voice cracked with the pain he had tried to bury for so long. Amaka's eyes softened as she stepped even closer. She could see the cracks in his armor. The man who had built his empire on lies, but was too broken to see the truth until now. By being honest, Kingsley. Her words were gentle, but they carried the power of everything he needed to hear. Not just with him, she gestured to the twin, but with yourself. Your family, your past, they make you who you are. It's time you accept that. Kingsley's shoulders sagged, and for the first time in a long while, he felt the weight of his actions. He had spent so much of his life running from the truth, building walls around himself and his past. But in this moment, in front of his brother and Amaka, the walls were crumbling. His twin brother stood silently, watching him, not with anger anymore, but with a kind of resigned understanding. "She's right, Kingsley," he said quietly. "You've spent your whole life chasing something, but you've left the most important part of you behind." Kingsley looked back at his brother, seeing not the adversary he had once viewed him as, but someone who had shared the same life, the same blood. His twin brother had been hidden, away for so long, and now, standing there, it was as if a part of Kingsley was finally coming back to him. Amaka stepped in again, her voice firm but filled with compassion. "You've been running away from your past, from the person you were supposed to be, but the only way forward is to face it. Let him in, Kingsley. You can't keep carrying this burden alone." Kingsley's eyes filled with tears, something he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years. He reached out, his hand trembling slightly. "I don't know if I can make up for it all," he whispered, the pain in his voice raw and real. "But I have to try, don't I?" Amaka nodded, her expression soft but resolute. "Yes, you do." The truth was simple but brutal. To heal, Kingsley needed to face his past, embrace his brother, and stop running. It wouldn't be easy, but it would be worth it. Kingsley finally turned to his brother, his voice low but filled with newfound determination. "I've been a coward. I've hidden from you for so long. I thought I was protecting us, but I wasn't. I was destroying us." His brother didn't reply right away, but the look in his eyes softened, the distance between them starting to close. "It's not too late, Kingsley," his twin said. "We can start over together, but you have to let me in. Let me be part of this again." For a long moment, nothing was said. The room felt like it was holding its breath. The silence between them was thick, almost suffocating. Kingsley stood there, his heart racing, his mind in turmoil. He knew he had to say something, but the weight of all those years of denial, anger, and guilt kept him frozen. Finally, Kingsley turned to his brother, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry. I've been a coward. I've pushed you away for years. I thought I could fix everything on my own, but I was wrong. I never should have treated you like this." His words hung in the air, raw and unfiltered. The twin brother didn't say anything at first. He just stood there, his eyes focused on Kingsley. There was a flicker of something in his gaze, softness, maybe even a hint of understanding. After what felt like an eternity, he spoke. "It's not too late to fix things, Kingsley, but you need to stop running from the truth. You've spent so much time hiding behind that empire of yours, trying to outrun your past. It's time to face it." Kingsley closed his eyes, the weight of his brother's words settling deep within. "I don't know if I can," he whispered, almost to himself. "I've built this life, this image. What if it all falls apart?" But the twin brother stepped closer, his voice steady. "You've built an empire, Kingsley. But what's the point of an empire if you've lost everything that mattered? You've been hiding from your own family, hiding from yourself." He paused, letting his words sink in. Kingsley felt a deep ache in his chest. His mind flashed to all the moments he'd missed, the years spent in boardrooms, the endless meetings, the nights alone in his penthouse. "I thought I was doing what was best," he muttered, his voice thick with emotion. "I thought if I just kept going, I could make it right. But I wasn't making it right, was I?" The twin brother placed a hand on his shoulder, his grip firm yet gentle. "No, you weren't, but you're here now. And that's what matters." Amaka watched quietly from the side, her heart heavy with the weight of the moment. She had never seen Kingsley like this, vulnerable, broken, and completely human. She had always known him as the powerful, untouchable CEO, the man who controlled everything. But now she saw him as a person who had finally come face to face with his failures and his fears. For the first time, she saw something else too: hope. Maybe this was the turning point for Kingsley. Maybe he could still fix things. Maybe he could still rebuild the relationships that mattered. Kingsley took a deep breath, his chest rising and falling with the weight of his emotions. He turned to his brother, his eyes filled with sincerity. "I can't change the past," he said quietly, "but I can start over. I can be the man I was supposed to be." The twin brother nodded slowly, a slight smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "It's not about changing the past, Kingsley. It's about moving forward and doing what's right. For once, do it for yourself, for your son, and for us." Suddenly, the phone rang again, its shrill tone cutting through the air. Kingsley's hand instinctively reached toward it, but then he stopped. For the first time in years, he didn't pick up the phone. He didn't answer the call. He just stood there, his brother by his side, for the first time in years, facing what was real. He looked at his twin brother, a quiet sense of peace settling over him. "I'm not running anymore," he said softly. "I'm here, and I'm going to fix this." The phone continued to ring, but Kingsley didn't flinch. Instead, he stepped away from it, his focus solely on his brother. He knew that the real work wasn't answering the calls from the outside world. It was about confronting the truth inside, the truth he had been avoiding for so long. "It's time to make things right," Kingsley said, looking at his brother, his eyes filled with determination. "For both of us." The next few weeks were different. The mansion, which once felt cold and empty, now felt warm. Kingsley made time for his family. He spent more time with his brother and his son, realizing that what mattered most wasn't business deals or riches, but presence. Every morning, he woke up to the sound of his son's laughter. Every evening, he found himself sitting down at the dinner table with his brother, sharing a meal and talking like they had never done before. Kingsley began to realize that family was the foundation he had been missing all along. His success had been built on loneliness. But now, with his brother beside him and his son in his arms, he finally understood what truly mattered. Amaka stayed by his side, not as a maid, but as someone who had helped him see what truly mattered. She had been the silent force guiding him toward redemption, showing him that he didn't need to fix everything with money. Sometimes all it took was a little honesty, a little presence. Kingsley knew he owed her more than words could express. She had shown him a life he had long forgotten, one filled with human connection and love. He couldn't change the past, but he could change his future. And he would start with the people who mattered most. One night, as Kingsley tucked his son into bed, he paused, his eyes soft as he watched the boy drift off to sleep. The room was quiet, the only sound the soft breathing of his son. Kingsley stood up, turning to Amaka, who had been silently watching from the doorway. "You didn't just help me with him," Kingsley said quietly, his voice full of gratitude. "You helped me with myself." Amaka smiled, her eyes glistening with unspoken understanding. She knew that Kingsley wasn't just thanking her for helping with his son. He was thanking her for helping him find his way back to what truly mattered: family, love, and honesty. As the days went by, Kingsley's life slowly began to change. The mansion, once a fortress of wealth and loneliness, now felt like a home. His brother had returned, no longer a secret, and for the first time, Kingsley didn't mind the imperfections. They laughed together, shared memories, and healed the wounds of their past. Kingsley spent more time with his son, no longer rushing, off to business meetings or ignoring the moments that mattered most. He woke up every day with a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that his family came first. He no longer tried to prove his worth with success or money. Instead, he proved it with presence, with the simple act of being there for the people who loved him. Amaka continued to stay with the family, no longer just an employee, but a part of the family. She had helped Kingsley see what he had been missing, that the greatest gifts in life weren't the things you could buy, but the people you loved and cared for. And Kingsley knew that he owed her more than he could ever repay. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Kingsley sat with his son and brother in the backyard of the mansion, watching the stars appear one by one in the clear night sky. For the first time, he felt complete. He had everything he needed. His family was whole again. As Kingsley sat there, with his son in his arms and his brother beside him, he realized that the road to redemption wasn't a single moment or grand gesture. It was a journey, one that started with acknowledging the past and moving forward with hope and love. "You know, Kingsley," his twin brother said quietly, "life doesn't give second chances often, but you took yours, and you're doing it right." Kingsley smiled, finally at peace. "I think we both are." The next morning, Kingsley woke up early, the sound of birds chirping outside filling the air. He looked at his son, sleeping soundly beside him, and for the first time in years, he felt a sense of peace. Kingsley knew that everything would never be perfect, but it didn't need to be. As long as he had his family by his side, he had everything he needed. The healing had already begun. Amaka was there, as always, in the kitchen making breakfast, her presence a steady reminder of everything he had learned. She didn't need to be acknowledged every moment. Her quiet strength had been enough to change his life. As he stood at the table with his family, sharing breakfast with laughter and smiles, Kingsley realized that he was finally where he was meant to be. He wasn't a CEO anymore. He was a father, a brother, and most importantly, a man who had found his way home.